What is up, everybody? It's your girl Jada Reese here, aka Diamond, back with another video. And today we have a single book review on The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. But first, if this is your first time seeing my face or knowing of my existence, my name is Diamond. I go by Jada Reese on this channel, and over here I like to do reading vlogs, book reviews, and everything in between. So if that is something that you're interested in, I think you should consider subscribing. Okay, so since I'm on my single book review journey, it is only right that I do a book review of The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This was one of my favorite reads last year. No, it was one of my favorite reads of 2023. And yeah, I absolutely loved it, and I have a lot of things to still say. And believe it or not, I have some old shorts that I did when I was reading it around that time frame, and those get views every single day. So I was like, okay, The Bell Jar is a book that people are really interested in, and they're going to be interested in it for pretty much the rest of our lives and moving forward. So The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath was first published in 1963 in the UK, and it wasn't published in America until after she passed away. First published, the first volume was 1971 in America. The Bell Jar is loosely based on Sylvia Plath's real life. Some say loosely. I did a reading blog on this book, and in my reading blog I went down a rabbit hole learning about Sylvia Plath, her life, why she ultimately decided to unalive herself. I learned about her husband, Ted Hughes, his mistress, and a lot of the things that was surrounding Sylvia Plath at that time. So one thing that you will learn about her is that she was increasingly becoming more and more depressed leading up to her untimely death. And she dealt with a lot of infidelity in her marriage, and she really grappled with the self-worth aspect and just trying to understand what she wants to do, how she wants to be, and the things that she wants to produce. But a lot of times mental illness takes over you, and there's almost nothing or no one that can make you feel any better. And so that is why people take it upon themselves to do the things that they do. So may she rest in peace. But she did leave us with a phenomenal piece of fiction, or auto fiction if you will, and I absolutely love this book. So this follows Esther Greenwood. She is newly graduated from college. She really wants to be a writer, specifically a poet, but she's reluctant to this for numerous reasons, as anyone would be. A part of it is just like that confidence piece, and also finding people that are willing to publish her. So what she does end up doing, however, is she becomes a columnist, a writer for like this fashion magazine. I believe I forget what city it's in. And she goes to like the fashion shows, and she writes up little articles, little pieces on what was produced, what was shown, and the new things for the season. In this novel, mainly, it is called The Bell Jar. Now, the bell jar idea or analogy is such. It's representative of a state of mental illness, specifically clinical depression, and the feeling of being trapped and isolated from the world. And our protagonist in this novel, Esther, this is exactly what she's dealing with and grappling with. And what you start off with is a typical or seemingly normal human being, young girl, finding her way through life, and it slowly starts to offset, or she slowly starts to offset and become uncentered in every walk and every which way imaginable, and we read her unraveling. What I'm going to do now is we're going to go through a few quotes of the story, and I'm gonna just like slowly start to like paint the picture of like where Sylvia was taking us in this novel, and then I'll just give my final thoughts on the book in general. All right, so this first quote is going to be regarding Esther and Buddy Willard, who is her boyfriend at the time. She is referencing having being a virgin or not, and she's asking him questions. You know, have you ever gone to bed with anyone? I kept rhythmically combing the hair down over the side of my face, nearest to Buddy, and I could feel the little electric filaments clinging to my hot cheeks, and I wanted to shout, "Stop, stop, don't tell me, don't say anything." But I didn't. I just kept still. "Well, yes, I have," Buddy said finally. I almost fell over. From the first night, Buddy Willard kissed me and said, I must go out with a lot of From the first night, Buddy kissed me and said, I must go out with a lot of boys. He made me feel I was much more sexy and experienced than he was, and that everything he did, like hugging and kissing and petting, was simply what I made him feel like doing out of the blue. But he couldn't help it, and I didn't know how it came about. Fast forward a little bit. What I couldn't stand was Buddy's pretending I was so sexy and he was so pure, when all the time he'd been having an affair with that tardy waitress and must have felt like laughing in my face. One of the many quotes in this story that brings me back to the times that we're in right now. These are the games. When I read that, I was just thinking in the back of my mind, I was like, these are the games that men play. They're continuously being taught to play these types of games. And then they're continuously being taught to play these sorts of games with women. It's almost like this sentiment where it's like a trickery being done. You are tricking women out of their panties because of the way that you're saying, hey, you're so sexy, I can't control it. Let's just go ahead and go to bed together. It's all your fault. You're making me do this. And this book was published when? 1960 what? This is something that is continuing to happen even now in today's age. Except one thing that I do like about the evolution of women and men, but we're talking about women right now, is that the more social media evolves, the more women come out, tell their stories, the more we're starting to recognize that that's not okay. And here's how you counteract behaviors like that. But I really enjoyed reading this from Esther, reading this from Sylvia, because the way that she painted the portrait. And this was her boyfriend at the time in the book. Buddy is her boyfriend. He's not some guy, off the street. This is her boyfriend making her feel this way. And in turn, it starts to well up this sort of aggression in her. And she's just like, you know what? To hell with this. I'm going to start thinking and feeling a different kind of way based off of how Buddy is acting with her. And I like that so much because she started to, even though, like I said, this is about a woman unraveling, she still starts to have ideas about how she wants to date or the type of men she wants to be with. And Buddy starts to slowly evaporate from her mind because of these issues right here that are coming up in their relationship. There's so many quotes in this book, but let's just stick with Buddy for a second. This is the last one I'm going to read about Buddy, but it's so funny. I have to add this into the review. What? I said in a small, unpromising voice. Buddy sat down beside me. He put his arm around my waist and brushed the hair from my ear. I didn't move. Then I heard him whisper, "How would you like to be Mrs. Buddy Willard?" I had an awful impulse to laugh. I still find that quote hilarious. Hilarious. I thought how that question would have bowled me over at any time in my 5 or 6 year period of adoring Buddy Willard from a distance. Buddy saw me hesitate. "Oh, I'm in no shape now, I know," he said quickly. "I'm still in PAS and I still may yet lose a rib or two, but I'll be back at med school by next fall. A year from this spring at the latest. I think I should tell you something, Buddy." "I know," Buddy said stiffly. "You've met someone?" "No, it's not that." "What is it then?" "I'm never going to get married." "You're crazy," Buddy brightened. "You'll change your mind." "No, my mind's made up." But Buddy just went on looking cheerful. "Remember I said that time you hitchhiked back to college with me after skit night?" "I remember." "Remember how you asked me where I like to live best, the country or the city? And I said I wanted to live in the country and in the city." Buddy nodded. "And you," I continued with a sudden force, "laughed and said I had the perfect setup of a true neurotic, and that the question came from some questionnaire. And that question came from some questionnaire you had in psychology class that week." Buddy's smile dimmed. "Neurotic? Ha!" I let out a scornful laugh. "If neurotic is wanting two mutually exclusive things at one and the same time, and I'm neurotic, then I'm neurotic as hell. I'll be flying back and forth between one mutually exclusive thing and another for the rest of my days." Are you kidding? Are you kidding right now? Listen to me and listen to me good when I tell you that is one of the supreme obsessions with this book. Those types of that type of dialogue, and like I said in the previous quoting, I knew it then before I reached this point. This is like 25 pages later. What was happening? I could tell then what was happening. She is starting to be so bored with these childish nuances of a boy like Buddy. She was starting to mature past what she felt or what she thought. What did she say? 5 or 6 years of being obsessed with him. That's childishness. And she was also still very young here, but that also to me reading this to me makes the idea that women mature way faster than men. And this is no shade to men at all, but our minds develop so fast and we switch and decide new things so frequently that it's really hard for men to keep up, which in turn is why maybe they're taught to play the games that Buddy is playing here. He's not the first, he's not the last. The same things are going on to this day, but women's evolution is far past that. And like I said, she's swimming past these ideologies of the norm of patriarchy, of society's thing of what women are supposed to be doing. In the back of my mind also, when I first read this, I was like, if only she could see these things happening for her in her real life. Because I took a break from this novel. I read it. I was reading it one night and I was like, I have got to figure out what went on in this woman's like real life. And that is when I stumbled across Sylvia Plath's actual story. And I'm just like, okay, a lot of the things are a parallel of one another, but then a lot of things aren't. She still ended up falling for the patriarchy. And in that, she also fell into deeper depression and then untimely died, But this book is just amazing. I could go on and on and on and read to you guys more and more quotes, which I want to read one more actually. We're going to go into her talking about this guy named Marco. Ouch! Marco moved his hand. I looked down at my arm. My thumbprint purpled into view. Marco watched me. Then he pointed to the underside of my arm. Look there. I looked and I saw 4 faint matching prints. You see? I am quite serious. Marco's small, flickering smile reminded me of a snake I teased in the Bronx Zoo. When I tapped my finger on the stout cage glass, the snake had opened his clockwork jaws and seemed to smile. Then it struck and struck and struck at the invisible pain till I moved off. I had never met a woman hater before. I could tell Marco was a woman hater because in spite of all the models and TV starlets in the room that night, he paid attention to nobody but me. Not out of kindness or even curiosity, but because I'd happened to be dealt to him like a playing card in a pack of identical cards. And that is where I leave you with the quotes of this magnificent novel that is so timely, so reminiscent of our time today, so worthy of your time. This will take you about 5 hours to read. It's worth every bit. Does it have issues? Yes. There's a lot of issues embedded in this novel. I saw a couple of TikToks one time, people talking about the fat phobia. She does use the word fat in here. She's referencing a woman who is possibly fat, I think from, of course, childbirth or whatever. She also references ethnicities, and she describes them in a way that might not be so flattering, but I didn't get a racist tone from her. But then again, who knows? You know what I mean? Who knew? Who could? I think I'm good at being able to tell if a writer wanted me to see a certain specific thing in the light that they wrote it in. I think I'm a good judge of character in that way, but then again, I might not be, because one thing about me, I am a Black woman, and for some odd reason or another, we're just able to separate a lot of things from truth and reality and all those types of things. Our discernment is very good, a lot of us. So I don't know, but at the end of the day, I still think it's a very necessary read. I think it's worthy of your time, and I thought it was phenomenal. This book really rings true, like I said once again, to a lot of the systemic issues that women are just facing or face at this time and still now. It's like a lot of the things are being reverted or trying to be reverted by the government. You could read this in that way. You can also read this from a viewpoint of a woman, or take the signs that Sylvia Plath wrote in this novel. And if you find yourself going through or feeling some of these things that Esther was dealing with, maybe seek help. She did seek psychiatric help. Her Aunt Teresa referred her to a psychologist, which it didn't go very well. Right now, there's actually a woman on TikTok talking about falling in love with her therapist. And that almost is similar, quite similar to Esther and this attractive psychologist that she goes and she sees. So, you know, all in all, The Bell Jar was and is such a great book, such a phenomenal read, and it is a true 5-star. And I would behoove you guys to read it, pick it up, give it a try, and be open-minded to it. So yeah, that is my little quick review of The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next upload. Deuces.